Well, here's the thing, right? As a filmmaker, you should be open to any expression of image as language and image as storytelling, despite, no matter what the length, right? In the same way, like Neil Peart, right, drummer for Rush, like his thing is like he goes around the world and like learns different types of drums from the masters. Like he'll go to India for like 3 months to learn like tabla or something. Like, but the whole point is he's a drummer, but he's not just doing rock kit stuff. He's expanding out and learning every aspect of it, and everything starts to pull into that. You know, if you're taking filmmaking seriously, it's basically just talking with pictures. So any form of talking with pictures should be interesting. And at the very least, maybe you won't do Vines forever, but it's something that you should try. It's something that you should see, like, what can you learn from this? What skills can you get from working in these constrictions that will help you later on? YouTube channel strategy is kind of basic. I mean, there's a lot of ways of doing it, but at the end of the day, it's like make good stuff that is shareable. So shareable is kind of the key for online video, because that's the easiest way to get things in front of people. You can find communities that are targeted to what you're making, but it's about when someone sends you a video and after you watch it, if the first reaction is like, yo, I gotta send this to my friend, like, then that's the kind of stuff you want to make. Now, just because it's shareable doesn't mean it's actually good, right? So the Friday video is incredibly shareable, right? Not a good video, but you understand that distinction, right? Like I know you don't want to make that, right? Do you? Okay. Oh no.
Oh, brilliant.
But you know that's the thing, right? So it's like take from Friday not the lessons of filmmaking there, but the understanding of like why did people want to show this and share this, and how can you maybe integrate those aspects into what you do? That's kind of like how online, from what I've seen, that's kind of how online video works. And what's key also, sort of what Matt said earlier, which is make it shareable, but also make it something that you want to do.
There's this great article that somebody wrote about deconstructing the GIF and how it's a viable form of cinema. And it's funny it's like, okay, that's funny, but it's true. It's Nickelodeon. I mean, what were the first films? It was Nickelodeons, etc. He deconstructs it as like somebody who takes a GIF.
It's a man doing a backflip, which I've seen in GIF form.
Exactly. They take a GIF and they use cinematic techniques to make the line work, not crossing the 180 line, hitting a certain tone, etc. It's just a very short film. So Vine, any of those things, is just a new art form. There's always you know, you could if you were really interested, just like our friend Brian Frenzy, in making jokes for 5 seconds, there are different types of stand-ups. There's guys who do monologues, and there's people like Jimmy Carr who just straight up one-liners, and that's his whole career. So yes, you could, if maybe that's your style, maybe you do Vines for the rest of your life, and maybe you make amazing Vines, and there's nothing to sneer at that.
There are some really great ones even right now.
Yeah.
Well, it's also if you want to talk about something that, especially going online, like they say the cliche, or the Shakespeare said brevity is the soul of wit, but it's also like if you're trying to get into the online game, no one wants to. Like a 30-minute video is a tough sell sometimes, unless you've got something really good. And getting into Vine, getting into doing micro films, like, it can teach you the discipline of keeping your stuff just as long as it needs to be, just as short as it can be. I've always felt awkward about talking about my writing process, because writing is basically like pooping. It's just, it just comes out of you one way or the other, and a lot of times it's strained and painful, and not a lot comes out. And other times it's just flying out. And
Will, you need more fiber in your diet, man.
And then at the end of all of it, you stand up and you go, "This is shit." Like,
That's the best summary of writing I've ever heard.
That's writing in a nutshell.
Here's the rule with equipment. The only reason we got the Sony was because it had slow-mo, and we wanted to do some slow-mo stuff. It wasn't that we're like, oh man, need to get better depth of field. Oh yeah, lenses. Oh man.
Yeah.
It's like I think people get too hardcore about gear. I think everybody needs to take a step back from gear and like just relax about it. Like, I literally see the same thing in guitars. Like, people are like, hey man, yeah, I gotta get this Mesa Boogie. It's gonna be a tube amp. I gotta get this. Oh, I got this vintage pedals, and they drop like 10 grand on all this equipment. And it's like, all right, play something. And it's just like, it's like, great. Yeah.
I think if you got a good beat, you can bang it out on anything.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
It's the same thing.
Channel Park has shot a thing on an iPhone. There's also that digital camera. There's a digital camera test you can check out online. They had all these great cinematographers. Yeah, some people thought an iPhone looked better than 60D if lit correctly. Like, as though if you start thinking about the next gear, what you're really doing is kind of just putting your brain into a different spot rather than just thinking of what to do next creatively. You have a camera. That camera can do more than we did, 6 years ago when we started.
You don't have to log and capture.
You can shoot Lawrence of Arabia on that thing right now.
Right. Don't create roadblocks for yourselves. Use what you have to your advantage.